All right, let's get day one started with a look at the anatomy of the guitar. We can start off by taking a look at the body. This is an acoustic guitar. Slightly different than that of an electric. I'll introduce you to electrics in later videos, but for now, I think the acoustic is the easiest way to introduce you to the fundamentals of how a guitar works. So let's take a look at the basics. This first big thing right here, big hole in the center, this is called a sound hole. Not very creative naming, but that's what it is. You want to strum and pick above this because this is how the sound translates from the strings to the body and then back out again. Sound emanates from this. So what's next? Let's take a look at the bridge. The bridge is where the strings bind to the bottom side of the guitar. So strings loop through here. And on top of this bridge, we have something called a saddle. Saddle it serves a couple of different purposes, but the main thing you can take away right now is that your strings sit on top of this. So a saddle and your bridge are kind of one when your strings are actually on the guitar. They work together. Next, if we follow the strings up, we have this. This is the neck of the guitar. So the back side of the neck is what your hand actually holds onto, right? And above the neck, so this is the back side, the front side is a fretboard. A fretboard is bound to the wood on the top side of the neck. This has these big metal slats that come through here called frets. So fretboard, frets. These different frets section off the fretboard into different tones. All right, next we have what's called a nut. A nut is right at the edge of the neck and the fretboard, moving up to the headstock. The nut essentially just has strings overlaying across it. We'll get more into this later for more advanced lessons, but for now, just know that this is where the strings cross, leading off the edge of the fretboard onto the headstock. Finally, with the headstock, you now have tuning pegs. These tuning pegs are what you use to change the string tension of each string, ergo changing the tone that you get and pitching that you get out of that string. If you change this, tuning it down, you hear the difference? That's the anatomy of a guitar to get us started. Let's move on. All right, now we'll take a moment to focus on the strings. On a standard guitar, there's 6 strings. We can refer to these strings by their corresponding number, starting with 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Might feel a little weird to be reversing those numbers. That's okay. You'll notice when you look at common tablature and such, though, that these numbers are generally referenced there when it comes to talking about this. What you can also do is refer to these strings by a letter or the corresponding note that's attached to each one. That all changes depending on the tension of the string and the tuning, but there's 2 different types of tablature that you'll get into in the future. For the most part, in the tablature that I'm going to show you throughout this video, though, is going to reference these numbers. We will talk about lettering, though, so I can start to cement some of those core concepts into your memory. But whenever I'm giving you call outs like, all right, play 3 on 6, that's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 3. We'll get more into that, though. What's more important is these letters for now to correspond. So on a standardly tuned guitar, 6 is E. E, 5, A, 4, D, 3, G, 2, B, 1, E. Did you notice that 2 of the strings that I just introduced you to have the same letter name? E. 6 was E. 1 was E. This is low E. This is high E. You can hear by the pitch. Low, high, low E, high E. This has nothing to do with proximity on the guitar. It's simply the pitching. So the bottom 3 strings are your high strings. The first 3 strings are your low strings. There's different mnemonics that people use to try to remember the letters on the guitar, E, A, D, G, B, E. Many different silly ones out there. Mine's no different. It's a common silly one. I'll introduce you to it really quick. It's called Eddie, 8, Dynamite, Good, Bye, Eddie. E, Eddie, 8, A, D for Dynamite, G, Good, B, Bye, high E, Eddie. Eddie, 8, Dynamite, Good, Bye, Eddie. Now we'll briefly touch on tuning your guitar. There are many different methods: tuning pedals, apps on your computer or phone, headstock tuner. I'm going to show you a headstock tuner today because it's the easiest to be able to show you through the camera. These tuners pick up vibration through your guitar and show you the pitch of that vibration. So I'm going to use my low E string as an example. As you can see, hopefully we can try to get this for you. My headstock tuner shows E right there. I'm going to take my 6th string, low E, and I'm going to turn the tuning peg quarter turn clockwise. And now we're going to take a look. You can audibly hear our pitch is changed. Do you see that? Our low E is no longer in the center here, and you can see red on the tuner itself, showing us that we are not quite in tune. So what we are going to do is we're going to slowly pluck the low E string here, and we're going to turn the tuning peg. And now you can hear the pitch slowly rising, and you can see on the headstock tuner, it's slowly moving. Move this a little bit more from there, you go. Keep turning it little by little until we see that we have E in the middle. Do you see the green line that's right there? Demonstrating that our low E is now in tune. So I used a couple of terms there, flat and sharp. We'll get into just a quick note on that. So flat is when your tune, your pitch, is below the center of the tuner pitch that you're looking for. So in this case, when we had this turn, this is flat, right? And then sharp is when you're above the center of a note's pitch. So say this, turning the opposite direction, a quarter turn. We are now too high. This is sharp. So we can bring it back down. Sorry, I had to put this back into spec there. And get back to our E. There you go. Sorry, not quite. Can't quite see with the camera now. There we are. Back into E. Before we get started actually playing notes and strumming chords, I want to talk to you for a moment about using a pick and how to effectively get started. There's many different picking styles out there for guitarists and other stringed instruments. Some people don't use picks at all, and they simply just use their fingers to finger pick. That might come later in a more advanced session, but for now, I definitely want you to be able to use a pick. And I'm going to walk through how we hold a pick. I'm going to try to see if I can get this to show up. So there's my pick, right? And what I do is I take the base of my thumb and put it on the back side. And then I take the side of my index finger, if you can see this, and I place it like this. So I want to hold the pick like this, okay? And you want to hold it maybe like a 10-15 degree angle towards the strings. Going flat on, you can do this too, which is fine. I find it a little bit unnatural feeling. I think a slight curve of the pick, and you can see if I put the guitar straight here with my pick here, I'll use this camera directly here, and I turn sideways like this ever so little bit, the edge of this pick will scrape across the strings, okay? right, now I want to introduce you to a warm-up exercise that I use frequently. This is a great way to introduce you to picking a string and performing notes on the fretboard. Let's specify the names of your fingers on your fretting hand first. That way I can make easier callouts throughout the rest of the sessions, and you'll have a good understanding of what I'm talking about. So let's take a look. We have our index finger, we have our middle finger, we have our ring finger, and we have our pinky. We can also assign note numbers to that. Let's call your index 1, your middle finger 2, your ring finger 3, and your pinky 4. I'm now going to give you some instructions and callouts, and you can follow along and we'll try this out. So let's take the tip of your index finger or your first finger and place it on the low E fret right next to the actual metal fret itself. So get close to that fret, as you can see, and put your finger right there. And you're going to press the tip of your finger. You don't need to press really hard, but you'll get, when you're able to hear the tone, you'll hear how hard you need to press on the fret, and this will become natural. So first finger or index finger next to the fret, depress it, and let's strum the low E string. Then we're going to try the same thing, moving up what we call a half step to the second fret. And we're going to take our middle finger here and we're going to place it next to the fret. We're going to use our tip of our finger and press down onto that second fret. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to give another strum on the low E string. Let's move up another half step. Take our third finger, or ring finger, place it next to the third fret. Give our low E here another strum. And then finally, we're going to do the same thing with our pinky finger or fourth finger. Put it next to the fourth fret and press down and strum again. Now, your pinky, especially in your non-dominant hand, is going to be your weakest finger. This is going to take strength exercise. You're definitely going to have to be practicing quite a bit to be able to get this pinky feeling like the rest of your fingers naturally. That's okay. We'll get that figured out. So just to recap, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, let's focus on some fret hand techniques now. There's 3 main points that I want you to follow, okay? So the first one, remember the neck of the guitar where your hand's touching the back of the neck? I want your thumb to be positioned on the back of the neck at all times, as much as you can. There are exceptions occasionally where if you're playing, you might see a thumb pop up like here or doing something like that. For now, and for most of our exercises, I really want your thumb to be back here. And you're going to notice when your thumb is put to the back of the neck, this is now going to make your fingers go a little bit differently. So the second point that I want to make here, besides your thumb, so thumb, center of the neck. Second is, I don't want your fingers to be flat like this when you're fretting. If you were trying to fret like this, it's not a good practice. It's definitely not good for your hands or your wrist. So the next thing, so first, thumb, back of the neck. Second, I want your wrist to be dropped. So don't try to put your wrist up like this. I want your wrist to be dropped, right? And that'll allow your thumb on the back of the neck to be able to sit flat. So thumb, back of the neck flat, wrist dropped. You want an arch with your fingers, okay? And finally, third, you want your elbow tucked into your side. So not out here, you want your elbow tucked into your side here. So let's go through this one more time. Thumb, back of the neck, wrist dropped, not up here, dropped. Your elbow on your left hand or right hand, depending on if you're right or left-handed, should be tucked into your body, okay? Just like that. And now I'll give a quick play to that intro exercise that I showed you earlier. Go ahead and give that a try really quick. If you need a refresher, it's 1 or your index here, your middle finger or 2 here, your ring finger here, and your pinky or fourth here. So let's take everything we just learned on the 6th string or the low E string. And let's apply it to the 5th string or the A string. Okay, so remember the techniques. I want your elbow in, I want your wrist loose and low, and I want the arches of your fingers to be present. Okay, we're just going to take the tips of your fingers and press them to the fretboard areas that we want to be in, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so we're going to take our index, our middle, our ring, and our pinky, or 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to play the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th frets on the 5th string. Okay, so follow along with me. We're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now let's move to the 4th string or D string. Same thing, 1, 2, 3, 4 with your 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th fingers. Let's move right on down to the 3rd string, the G string. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's move to the 2nd string or B string. 2, 3, 4. And lastly, your high E string. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what we've been playing so far is called position playing, where the first position is us playing the same exercise, which is 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th frets. Second position takes 1st position and slides it up 1. So as you can see with me just dragging my fingers, we go up 1, starting with our 1st finger, our index finger, on the 2nd fret, and our middle finger or 2nd finger on the 3rd fret, and so on. Our ring finger to the 4th fret, and finally our pinky to the 5th fret. This is 2nd position. Now, again, if we want to move 3rd position, move up 1. We start at the 3rd fret now. 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. All the way up till what I'd like you to try to work with, which I'm going to give you that instruction in a moment, is to work on going through the first 5 positions. So that's definitely going to be an exercise that I want you to do often. It's a really good warm-up exercise and just a way to get more natural feeling with position playing. So make sure you take that as part of your homework for today. But yeah, so 3rd position, I'll just show you really quick one more time. 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, since we focused on notes so far, let's give you an introduction to chords. Chords are defined as 3 or more notes played at the same time. In your introduction to your first chord, I'm going to make any of these chords only have 1 finger to get started, making it really easy for you. They're deconstructed. Eventually, we'll build these into working together to actually create multi-fingered chords. So your first chord is going to be strung from the last 3 strings, the top strings, your 3, 2, 1 that we've talked about so far in the series. So it's going to be a G chord. So your G chord is going to be 3rd fret on your high E string or your 1st string. So your 1st string, 3rd fret, we're going to take ring finger and we're going to press that down, and we are going to strum the last 3 or your high strings. Okay? You're going to strum all 3 of these strings together. We're going to do this in a simple count of 4 quarter notes. This means simply counting with me for now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So when we're going to play this, you are going to count just like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 quarter notes make 1 bar. We'll get into all these later. I definitely am not going to go into extremes when it comes to music theory, so don't worry about that. But that's just a small introduction of me being able to count with you, and we'll keep working together on how to build on that from there. Okay, so that was a 1-fingered G chord. Now I want to move on to a one-fingered C chord, okay? So let's take your first finger, your index finger, and put it on your B string or your second string, okay? First fret, second string. And I want you to do the same thing that you did before. I want you to take 1, 2, 3, 4, so 4 quarter notes, and I want you to strum those last 3 high strings, 3, 2, 1, with this first fret on the second string depressed, okay? Now it's going to be important that you remember what we talked about when it comes to your fretting technique, okay? The arch of your finger, you see how my finger is arched right now? This is very important because you need to be able to be arched so you're only pressing on this single string. You don't want to mute this high E, the first string, or else it's going to sound something like this. You don't want that, okay? You want it to ring out. Okay, we made it to our first song. I told you we'd get there. We're going to combine everything you've learned so far and put it together into an exercise song. The first chord we're going to play doesn't involve any fretting at all. It's an open G, B, and E, or an open 3, 2, 1 on the high strings. If you want to play 4 quarter notes strumming these, okay? So my first part that I want you to do, I want you to strum 4 quarter beats, 1, 2, 3, 4 of these 3 strings together. Okay, so let's do that together. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Same thing is going to apply. You're going to strum these last 3 strings, 3, 2, 1, and I want you to do that for 4 quarter beats as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 quarters fit into something called a bar. We're not going to go into extremes for music theory, like I said, but a bar contains 4 beats. In this case, 1, 2, 3, 4 is our 4 beats of a bar, or quarter notes that we're calling them. So the first 2 chords I've had you play were the 3 open strings together, G, B, and E. The second was a G chord, your ring finger, your third finger on the last string, the high E, doing the same thing, strumming those 3 open. The last that I'm going to show you is a C chord, which if you remember, your C chord is your first finger, your index finger on your second string, okay? And you're going to do the same thing. You're going to strum the last 3 high strings together, like this. Now, in this case, instead of doing 4 beats like we've been doing previously, saying 1, 2, 3, 4, I want you to do 8 or 2 full bars this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Everything you've played so far with these chords is considered to be what's called a chord progression. You progressed through different structures of chords. Continue repeating these parts 3 more times to be able to complete the song. So what I want you to be able to do is play through everything that I've just told you 4 times in total. That's your first song. Okay, let's play this song together. After that, you can exercise as much as you would like with it. I would really suggest being able to work through all of the things that we've gone through throughout the first day exercises to get to a point where you feel like you can pull these together. And feel free to go as slow as you want. You do not have to go the speed that I'm going. You can totally slow down your numbers. If you want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, that's totally fine. You'll build speed as you progress. So just continue to be able to practice this. It'll start feeling more natural. Okay, so let's start with those first 4 quarter notes of the 3 open strings, the last 3 strings, G, B, E. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more part. 2, 3, 4. Last one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's get one more all open string at the end. That's your first song. So go through, repeat this, continue, like I said, to play as slow as you need to, and then speed up to the speed that I'm at once you feel more comfortable. You made it past day one. Fantastic. There's so much we've done here. I know it's a lot of information. You're probably feeling incredibly overwhelmed. Just take time, make sure to have fun, and just review everything that we've talked about through this video. Take your time to really learn it, commit it to your memory, work in baby steps of starting to just go through and practice. Practice. Like I said at the beginning, spending time with your guitar and going through these exercises to get you started, and just having this guitar in your hands is going to do wonders for you throughout the next few days of the exercises that I'm going to give you to just start to feel comfortable very quickly, okay? Now, one of the biggest things that I will tell you is make sure to really focus on these chords, because day 2 is going to be focused on all chords. So be ready for that. Again, I'm proud of you. Congratulations. Make sure you're having fun, and I'll see you day 2.